Andy, what gives you confidence that you guys can get some more or some, shot plays downfield starting this Sunday?
Yeah, it's one thing that we look back at the game, and we were limited in that area. We weren't able to take very many chances down the field, and I think if you look back, it's something that we wish we could have done a little bit more in that game. So I think we understand that. We understand how we want to play, and it's kind of where we're at right now.
What went well for you guys? Did you feel in the game?
What'd you say?
What went well for you guys in the game offensively?
Well, I thought we moved the ball really well. I think when you look at what we were able to do, we had longer drives, and again, going back to that defense, that's what they make you do. And I thought we did that at times. We stalled a couple times there. We went for it on fourth down, weren't able to get it, but we make one or two of those, and maybe that game is a little bit different. So I think we understand that, and we know what we need to do.
And looking back at it, what's your sense for what limited the vertical passing game the other day?
I think it's just the way they play defense. They try to keep everything in front of you, and with a good front and a guy like Aaron Donald and some of those guys that they have up there, that's just how they play.
I know you played last year against the Bengals, but how much more special is it for you given that you spent your first 9 years there?
Yeah, it's I got a chance to go against them last year in Cincinnati, which it was obviously felt a lot different being there as the away team rather than the home team, being in a different locker room and all that kind of stuff. So, luckily I kind of got that out of the way last year, and now I'm just focused on doing what we can to win the game.
You don't feel that little bit of extra tugging at you anymore going up against your old team?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I think I got to play him last year too, which was nice.
Was that a strange experience?
Yeah, it was, and it was cool for me though because they received me well, and my wife and I, we poured a lot into the city and into the community, into that organization and everything. So I was well received.
Were you worried that you wouldn't be?
No, I just you never know how it is going back to a place after you've been there for a long time, and so and we won last year, which was nice too.
When you have to go to the second left tackle in a game and then the third left tackle, as a quarterback, is that in the back of your mind? When you're getting in the line and it's a passing play?
Yeah, I think you've got to trust those guys to get their job done, and so I think for me it's understanding just playing on time. That's what I try to do regardless of who's in there, and so I think that's just kind of my mindset.
What's your level of familiarity with the personnel that the Bengals have defensively, and maybe even with Lou, going back to your time there?
Yeah, there's been a lot of turnover, on the team. There's not a ton of guys still there from a couple years ago when I was there, but there's still some players that are there. So, I have some familiarity with some of the guys, and not only on defense but offense too.
Andy, as far as when Justin comes in the game, how early do you know that script's happening? Do you know that script's happening, and how does it affect your rhythm as a quarterback when any quarterback comes in?
Yeah, we have obviously had plays for him last week, and there's times where he's coming in, and sometimes you're just waiting on the next play, and then he calls it. So I didn't think it affected my rhythm at all, and it was. I was able to kind of hop right back in there and just continue out there.
Is it hard to come out, especially when you're in the red zone like that? Did it feel weird at all?
When we did it in the red zone, second time got down and Justin scored. So we're trying to score touchdowns. So that's at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do.
You have a sense of appreciation for David Montgomery after playing with him in a game for the first time. I'm sure you liked what you saw in practice up until the game, but new heightened sense of appreciation for him after seeing what he accomplished?
Yeah, I've appreciated him from the moment I got here, and to see the way he works, the way he prepares, the way he practices, then to see it in the game. He shows what he's able to do, and it's been fun to just see just his ability and how he he keeps fighting and finding ways to get extra yards and make some explosive plays for us.
What kind of advantage does it give you as a quarterback to have a running back tandem that can catch the ball out of the backfield? Because Damian showed that as well.
Yeah, I feel like we've got a good room with our running backs. Some guys that are dynamic in both the run game and the pass game. So we're fortunate to have that.
Andy, how much freedom do you have to check the run when you see 5 and 6 man routes?
Yeah, that's part of the game plan, what we have going in, and we'll kind of see how we want to attack these defenses and different things. So I think it all depends on the game plan.
Andy, you've been doing this for a long time. What is the key, when you have a game plan in week one that seems maybe a little extreme, like you said, you take what they give you. What's the key to pivoting and going, okay, we're on to week 2, this stuff we're going to try maybe completely different or very different?
Yeah, I think that's, in camp you have, you're trying a lot of things and you're putting in your whole offense, and then as you get into a game plan, now it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do this week. And then each week is different. You get the opportunity to put some stuff in that you like for that next week because the defenses are different.
Andy, on the first fourth down against the Rams, you had Cole Kmet open across the middle. I think a blitzer coming free, so you had to go to Allen Robinson right away. How did you analyze that play? Is there anything you wish you could have done differently that would have allowed you to see Kmet earlier? How did that play out?
Yeah, just the way things were. I mean, it went to A-Rob, and it was a contested play, and unfortunately we weren't able to bring that one down.
Did the blitzer, was that the key to it? The guy coming at you like in that?
No, I think we still had an opportunity, and we just weren't able to convert.
Andy, on the interception Sunday, I know the ball was deflected by Young, but it looks like where he deflects it, if it goes through, it's still going a couple yards behind Darnell. Did something else go wrong on that play besides the deflection?
When the ball gets tipped, things happen. Guys react differently, and so it was unfortunate that it got tipped, and it makes things look out of whack.
But he was where you expected him to be when you threw the ball?
That's exactly what I just said. When I let it go, I was expecting the spot, and he reacts once the ball's tipped and everything, and so it may not look like somebody in the right spot, but the tip affects everything.
And you mentioned about how the offense moved the ball really well. I think you crossed the 50 on the first 7 possessions. What do you think, though, is the key to finishing and scoring touchdowns after moving the ball so well?
Yeah, when we went for it on the fourth down, we had a contested play on the first one. We weren't able to convert. The second one, if I would have had just a half second longer and I don't get hit from behind, David Montgomery's wide open. And so, there's another conversion. So there's like little things that we can go back and look at to say, okay, hey, if we can do this just a little bit better, these conversions, then like I said, that could change the course and the outcome of the game.
Andy, you mentioned your familiarity with their offensive personnel. Tyler Boyd is a guy that's obviously continued to grow. What did you appreciate about playing with him?
Tyler's got a great personality and a great just feel for the game of football, and he has a ton of fun playing. And I really enjoyed my time with him. And he's a guy that's just got a great feel out there, great route runner, and he's always in the right spot.
You got a taste of Soldier Field during the preseason. What do you expect the atmosphere to be like for the home opener on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excited fans that get to be back in Soldier Field, and so we're excited for this home field advantage. Hopefully they'll be loud and make it hard for the offense for the Bengals when they're out there.
Were you surprised by the 4th and 15 call at the 10-minute mark? Did that get you off guard? Were you expecting that to come in, or?
The 4th and 15 at the end of the game?
Yeah, at the 10-minute mark in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think at that point we were down several scores, so you got to be aggressive in that situation.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Eric Rose.
Guys.
So we've still gotten clarity on what happened on the Cup touchdown and how he got behind there. Can you kind of give us a feel for what the breakdown there was?
Yeah, it was just a
coverage assignment, some miscommunication on the field, and that starts with me. You know, I got to make sure everybody's prepared to the level that we need them to be prepared, and so got to get them all the looks in practice, and then we got to execute.
What should have happened there?
Geez, I ain't going to give you my coverage pickups, but we just know that it was a coverage bust.
After the game, Sean, Matt said, you know, that you guys would have to regroup and move on, and he said, you know, Sean's never done this before, you know, the week after a loss, the week after any game. What was your message to the guys? How did you handle it? And how do you think, and are you completely moved on, or you still hang on to some of the mistakes that happened?
No, you can't hang on to anything in this league. You know, this is a marathon that we're running right now, and we're at the first start of it. So you can't hang on because that's where things snowball. And so the way we handled it was how everybody had been a part of, everybody witness handled it. You address the issues, you're very direct, and you take accountability. And it starts with myself. And I let the guys know where I was accountable, and they knew where they were accountable. And then we move forward, and we've got a plan to attack the Bengals and improve on from our performance from week one.
Sorry. What were you thinking, though, at the moment Van Jefferson goes down and neither of the safeties touch him?
Yeah. You know, probably similar to what you guys were thinking. You know, what happened? Did they touch him? Or not? And obviously they didn't touch him. And so at that point, I mean, it's like everybody else. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't take that play back, right? So we got to get ready to go play the next play and fix those errors.
Sean, when you did watch the tape after the game, just your broad perspective on the issues, what stood out to you as glaringly, this wasn't good enough?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the pass pickups, was probably the number one thing, which I'm sure you can look at the stat sheet and look at that intuitively as well. And realistically, it's 3 or 4 plays that went big. And those 3 or 4 plays against an offense like that and against a quarterback like that is where you get exposed. And that's what happened, you know. And I think Tashawn said it the other day. And you watch, go ahead and watch all 16 games played in week one. There's a lot of those mishaps happening, and unfortunately, that's not what we pride ourselves on.
Sean,
Our guys know that.
sorry, Sean. How about the pass rush, specifically Khalil Mack, who I don't know if you recorded a quarterback hit in that game. I guess how does he process that, and how do you process that specifically with them?
Yeah, you know, I think pass rush is a function of rush and coverage. And, you know, it's all about timing. And from my end, we got to do a better job of trying to get him going. And from a coverage perspective and a schematic perspective, we got to be tighter. You know, sacks come a function of rush and coverage. There's not many people that are free winning on the first move in this league. And if they are, that's you're talking to the O-line coach on that side of the ball, and they're saying the same thing. You know, it's a mistake. Sean, there's been a lot of talk from players, coaches about accountability since you've taken over. When it's 2 veteran safeties who failed to touch a guy, simple play, how do you hold 2 veterans accountable? I mean, do you just say, don't do it? I mean, I obviously know that. So what do you do as a coach? Yeah, no, you do it the same way you hold anybody accountable. The accountability standard doesn't change by years measured in the league. You know, our standard is the standard, and so everybody's held accountable to the same standard, regardless of your years and regardless of even me. I'm held to that same standard. So the accountability is addressed in a very direct, matter-of-fact way, and we move on. You know, we can't dwell on things in this league. Like I said, you can't let things snowball. You address it, and you improve it, and you ask for clarification. Make sure that the way you're teaching it is proper, because sometimes the way you're teaching it isn't the right way.
Just
And that's on me.
I'm just curious with regard to your manner. Is it more parental, or do you get angry at the 2 guys?
Yeah,
Which
I mean, you're a parent, right? You gotta pick and choose your battles of when you're getting angry and when you're being more parental, and that's the same way here.
Sean, Marquis Christian, what did he ultimately do to win that nickel spot going into week 1?
You know, there was a lot of things that go into that decision, and it's been a great competition. It continues to be a great competition with him and Duke. And we as a staff felt that he edged it out there in the beginning and earned that spot there. And so we felt good with that decision.
John, what do you think of your team's tackling on Sunday? And I know the coaches in the first game of the year sit there and say,
Yeah.
you know, after preseason, when maybe not everybody's playing in games, I know it's not an uncommon issue, but what did you think of it, and how do you get it better?
You know, I think we had probably 8 plays where I would have graded missed tackles on, a total of 12 missed tackles. So what does that mean? That means on one play, you had 4 or 5 guys miss. You know, and that's that's a function of pursuit and angles. So those are things that we will continue to correct and continue to fix. So I think it gets magnified. And then the yards after contact, we got a limit. When we get close to guys, and you guys asked me that question a couple weeks ago of how do you get better at tackling? And what did I say? You got to close the distance with speed. And that's what we got to continue to do.
Was that the 3rd and 13, the multiple misses?
Yeah. That's right. That one that cut back.
Sean, the same question kind of on the coverages. There was more than just 2 missed. Without getting specific, how many missed coverages did you count?
You probably go around in any league in the game, you're going to have a few. Now, off the top of my head, I would say there was probably only 2 or 3 major busts. The other, like a missed coverage isn't a one-on-one. That's not a missed coverage because that's this league, right? The offense got to win their fair share of one-on-ones and the defense has to win their fair share of one-on-ones. So that's not a blown coverage. So there was a very limited number of those, and we got exposed on them because good teams and good quarterbacks expose you on those things.
So on the Jefferson touchdown, beyond not getting touched, he was wide open. Was there a missed coverage on that one?
Yeah, we had a coverage pickup that we needed to rectify there also.
Sean,
Right.
back to Mark's question a little bit. You have such a good relationship with Eddie Jackson, being a safeties coach in the past. Do you have to challenge him after a game like that? How do you deal with him specifically? Because you know his personality so well, and you know what makes him tick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just how I deal with everybody. I kind of know all these guys really well. And Eddie's a guy I've worked with closely, like you said, as a safeties coach and me in that room. So, somebody asked a question about, do you get angry or do you take the parental mode? It's a similar approach. It's an individualized approach to each guy, right? Because everybody doesn't respond to the same way of coaching and teaching. And I've learned that through my education background. So you got to be able to reach these guys where they're at and make sure they're responding to where they're at. And that's what we're going to do. I think we've got good relationships on the defense from the coaches to the players and the players to the players. And that's what we're going to bank on to continue to develop guys.
Sean, as you dig into the Bengals, early impressions of Chase and what he did in his debut.
Jamar, man, he's really good. He's really good. He's setting himself up to be a marquee receiver in this league, and he's earned that right. He's earned the right through college, and he's proving it. And obviously, he had an explosive game where he had 5 catches on 7 targets for 100 yards. So he's got the speed. He's really good at the intermediate routes, getting in and out of breaks, and so he presents a nice, good challenge for us. All these receivers do, quite frankly. They've got a really good set of skills on that team. They got 3 or 4 receivers. The tight ends are both solid guys, and the running backs are really good.
What's your impression with that full complement of receivers? How have you seen Burrow trusting and having comfort in not just Chase, but Higgins and Boyd and that?
Yeah, you see the growth of that quarterback. He's done a tremendous job, and it's a credit to him to endure through that injury that he had last year and make it back for week 1. And he hadn't played much in the preseason, so he's been obviously putting in the time and working, and they had a really good week on offense. And so he's doing a good job, and I think his growth is going to continue to happen.
Deshaun Gibson was pretty honest about how tough the film session was yesterday. What was that like for you, kind of leading that post-game for the first time, and how did you feel like your players responded?
Yeah, it was tough, and you never would imagine something like that, right? You're not trying to plan for something like that, but you've experienced things like that. I've experienced those types of losses. You guys have been here with me for 9 years. We've had some losses that have been much worse than that in my time here. So I've seen it, how it's been handled, and like I said, we address it in a very direct, matter-of-fact way, and we address it from a teaching and learning perspective that we all got to improve on those processes, from a teaching perspective as coaches and myself, and a learning perspective as players.
Would you like to get?
On fourth down continually and comes up short. How does that stress you as a defensive coordinator, and how does it change the way you go about coaching the next drive?
Yeah, not much. It's P and 10. You put the ball down, and we're going to get ready to play some football.
Would you like to see Travis Gibson get a little more opportunity, especially when you're going through a game where you're struggling to get home with the pass rush?
Yeah, that was a unique game. I think there was 53 plays. You're giving guys more opportunities to take them from who. That's a balance that we're going to continue to work through, and we want guys to have the best opportunities that they can have, and we got to put them in the positions that they can optimize. Appreciate you guys.
We just said they wanted to. No, I'm on my screen.
Jalen Ramsey's obviously a very unique player in how he can show up pretty much anywhere on the field at any given play. I'm curious because there was back-to-back plays. One of one's Fields was on the play the flip back to Marquise Goodwin that went left, and then the next play was like a bubble or a tunnel to Darnell Mooney.
Sure.
And Jalen shows up on both of those to make the stop.
Sure.
I'm just curious, when you're game planning, are you hoping that that's not going Jalen Ramsey's way, or is it just one of those things where you got to trust your players regardless to make the key block?
Well, so, for some of them, if someone is assigned to block them, we assume that we operate that they're going to block them. Sometimes you have a great player that you want to purposely stay away from. So I guess it's a mix. Sometimes you check the play at the line if an unblocked player is going to be there.
Coach Laser, how much are you having to curtail what you do offensively around the state of your offensive line?
We did address it fairly well last week. Same question, but I'll do it again. I think that's what you do, is you every year, every week, every game, you look at your players. What's the best thing for them to do? How do we put them in the best situation to be successful? And that's football, that's coaching. So it's a trick question.
Well, you had two guys go down, though, in the game.
Yeah.
Different than last week. So just as far as in that game, we saw a lot of short passes, and I have to imagine.
I thought Elijah did an excellent job. I don't, as you know, I was not calling the plays, but I can speak, I think, for the staff to say that Elijah being in the game had zero effect, as far as I can speak, of what we did. I thought he handled himself great. He's been here, we know he's played in the past. He was here all offseason. He's played both left and right for us. I think we have great confidence in Elijah.
A small sample size, but the 5 snaps that Justin was out there, what's your sense for what he gained out of those?
Well, I think probably some stuff internally that I would have a hard time judging. But I think from the outside looking at it, he looked like he belonged. He looked like he could be successful. Nothing was too big for him, which we didn't think it would be, but looked like he had fun.
As you guys meet as coaches and try to figure out the best ways to mix him in and match him in, what are the factors that you talk about in trying to figure out what is the proper niche each week with him?
I think it's the same as any time you game plan. You have to balance 3 things. What are the best things we do? What are the weaknesses of the opponent? And then what are our matchups, personnel? And some teams will rely more on, hey, let's change what we do to take care of their weaknesses. Some places are more, hey, we do what we do, and we do it really well. I think using Justin snaps kind of fall in that category of balance those 3 things.
Bill, why do you think there have been some instances, Taysom in New Orleans, I think Lamar, when he wasn't the starter, of coaches, using a quarterback for a play or 2 at a time. Why do you think that really hasn't stuck in the NFL the way maybe it did in college, where you did it in the name of getting the guys?
Well, I think in reality in the NFL, there are only so many quarterbacks that are good enough to win. Probably not 32. And so if you really have 2 on your team that can do that, you're fortunate. And most of the time when people try to do that, it's just hard. It's hard to have 2 that are really good enough. I'd like to think we have 3, but I think time, you asked the question over time, why hasn't it happened? That's probably why.
You guys were able to end last season feeling pretty good about your running game. Kind of build confidence in that area coming out of Sunday night and what you were able to accomplish?
I thought that was one of the positives, was the efficiency of the run game, because it helped us, even when it wasn't making first downs, it kept us close enough that we were able to be better on our 3rd down conversions and the overall production of it. But that being said, it only counts if you score enough points, and we didn't. So, we obviously break down every area, and there was some positives that came out of it, but big picture, that's not enough to win an NFL game.
Did David look better than he did? And he looked good last year, but it's small sample size from the other night.
I was very careful today, and he teased me, but when I talked to him about the positive things he did, you know, he immediately told me he thought I was acting like I was surprised. I said, of course I'm not surprised. No, I think that's what we're expecting out of David. I think he's had a great offseason, he had a great camp, and I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for us. That's where he is again.
What'd you think of Larry Borum's, it's a few snaps before he got hurt, but what did you think about him, a fifth rounder coming in as week one and playing?
I thought when Larry started practicing with us in the spring, even though it's no pads, he was impressive. He impressed us at that point where he was physically, mentally, play speed for a tackle. I think sometimes for those college tackles to become NFL tackles, they really have to learn what the play speed is, of how fast they have to set, how fast the rush is going to get on them. And he impressed with that. Right now, to me, the thing that's most impressive is how much time he missed from injury and still be able to play as well as he did for the amount that he was in. So I'm very optimistic because of both of those things.
Coach, what was the decision-making process like from going for it on 4th and 15 and 10 minutes left in the game? How early did that decision-making process start for you and Matt, and what was that communication like?
Oh, I'm not going to disclose the communication. And I can't recall like how I would describe how fast it started. That's probably a better question for Matt.
The 15-yard sack that preceded that, it looked like you guys may have had something dialed up for Darnell on a move on the left. What didn't allow that to get there? Is it just a matter of what they did defensively, or if the protection holds up? Did you sense that?
I think it was just the protection. I thought our guys did a really good job for most of the game, and when you're playing some good rushers, and it's our fault for getting to the point in the game where they know you're most likely gonna pass. I mean, when it's 1st and 10, when it's 2nd and 7, normal part of the game, the advantage is offense. The way the rules are in the game right now, the fact that you can do anything else, anything that you want. When it becomes 2nd and super long, when it becomes 3rd down, it becomes into the game, and they know you're gonna pass, high percentage, it becomes advantage defense. And that's what we got. We just got to that point. Yeah.
From what you saw, the protection held. Was that there? Was the actual pass there?
You can judge that.
Bill, on the first 4th down, Andy had Cole Kmet open across, but there was a blitzer coming, and he went to, I think, Allen Robinson. What was your analysis of what went wrong on that play? Because it seems like if the first read is Cole Kmet, he's the first down.
I probably don't want to share it. Sorry. I don't want to give you less than an honest answer.
Bill, do you think Justin Fields, based on what he did week one, is ready for a full series? Do you think he can handle a full series?
I would have said after the preseason that he's moving quickly and ready for whatever's thrown at him. So I don't think anything's changed.
If he's ready for it, then why isn't he getting those additional chances?
I think Matt's probably addressed what his philosophy is on the quarterback position. I don't think that's easy for me to answer that.
When you were in Cincinnati with Dalton, how did it, sorry.
That's okay. I was laughing just more at.
When you were in Cincinnati with Dalton, how was he kind of revered or treated by the organization and the fans there? He talked about last year how nice it was to go back and kind of feel that love when he was with the Cowboys.
Oh, I think when we were preparing for the Bengals game on, you watch the video, and obviously as the second game of the year, you have a whole bunch of video from last year that you study, and on one of the shots of the Dallas game, I can't remember if it was up in the stands of the scoreboard or if it was on the sideline. Somewhere there was a big sign that said, thank you, Andy and JJ, for making such a difference and or for changing lives, I think is what it said. So I think that speaks to what they did there. I really do.
Thanks,
Do you have tickets? Do you have tickets? Do you have tickets? Only if you have tickets, Stacy.
I'll circle back.
Okay.
Chris, to open the game with that return, was that a situation where, because he was pretty back far in the end zone where he took it out, is that a situation where you're just going, let's try to get a home run here early?
Let's just play football. And I thought it was good. It obviously turned out good for us. We got a lot of confidence in that unit. And I think he's been getting better from all the way from practices at Miami, where at times we struggled to catch the ball, to where now he's looking more comfortable and doing a good job. I mean, be honest with you, one of the best returns of the night, and no one will talk about it, was when they kicked off from the 50-yard line. They're trying to get us pinned up way back there, and at least we get it to the 20, which is our goal. And he just has a nice knack for finding things. Good vision. He's a running back. So I'm glad the game started the way it did.
What do you think a return like that will do, especially the first time he touches the ball, for his confidence moving forward?
I think it did a lot for his confidence. And, that's good for a young player to experience that as opposed to the other way. But the Rams, they're a good unit, and they were playing aggressive, and it was a nice cutback coming back there. So glad it worked.
Chris, who was the unsung hero on that return, the first one? Was there somebody we didn't see who kind of helped create that huge?
No, they're schematically they tried to pin us over there and then bring a lot of guys hot, and they were plussing over really far, and we were fortunate with how it worked out. The guys really on the backside did a nice job blocking, and then their backside too was really cutting the edge really fast, and that's part of the design. And he did a great job. Herbs did a great job of reading it and bringing it back.
Chris, when they get the penalty on the extra point, or you guys get the penalty on extra point, even though they're up 2 scores, are you on alert for an onside kick there? I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, number one, you got to defend for the onside kick. We talked about that in the huddle, and then we talked about our drops and who we're picking up because we're already behind the 8 ball, making sure that we get this thing knocked out. Like I say, we try to get it to the 20, and anything past that would be gravy because they're trying to pin us in there.
Google was talking yesterday about Khalil asking him about catching the football, and you mentioned it too, that it was kind of a struggle he had to overcome early. What went into that? I mean, in terms of how, whatever he was dealing with, and then how he fixed it?
I think it's the process of a young returner, just catching on the jugs and then catching a live ball, and then here comes, the one he dropped in the Miami practice. That was, here they come, we're essentially kind of live, and it's a tendency for a young player to pull his eyes because he wants to get going fast. I think what he's now done is settled in, and we got him a lot of returns in the preseason. And you saw him grow throughout the preseason, and I just think he's getting comfortable with what we're doing also, so that's been good.
Chris, there's been a lot of conversation about Marquis Christian getting the nickel job over Duke Shelley. Is that a situation where special teams needs probably played into that decision as well?
No, Marquise he's a good special teams player also.
That's why I'm asking.
And I'll tell you what, Duke played well for us on the special teams last year also. He played for us on the punt return and kickoff game and did a nice job. Both those guys can contribute to us, and whoever, it just happened Marquis was up and Duke was down, so we weren't able to play Marquis as much as what we normally would because he was the starting nickel, and that in today's game that's really like a starting corner, so he was limited there, but they're both good.
So it's interesting, though, because he's kind of viewed as a special teams demon, and you're saying that his getting the nickel job gives him less access to special teams rather than because he's up playing more.
Well, each and every week you have to evaluate based on what the other team's doing, how many times is the nickel going to be out there and those type of things. If it's if it's an 11 type game, he's out there more, and then you have to. That's part of our job is to kind of work through all that, and but he's a very willing participant, and he is a good player. So if he's not playing as much, then somebody else has to step up for him.
Marquise also said that he kind of taught Khalil to look for the laces because the college ball is different and it might be a different angle. Is that something you've had to teach a rookie before?
We just talked a little bit more about the fundamentals, the high hands, the elbow squeeze, and securing the football first. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have the ball at the end of that play, and I think that's we're getting there. I mean, he's still a work in progress, and there's still going to be some ups, and there might be a down. But if there's a down, we want to make sure we shoot him out of it quickly.
What type of challenges do the Bengals present this week?
Really good. They're well coached. Coach Simmons has been there 19 years, faced them a lot when I was in Cleveland. They got probably one of the top returners in the AFC and kick return. I mean, the guy is the Wilson kid, number 40. I mean, you'll see him. Let me put it, you'll notice him quickly. And play a lot of linebackers. They're well coached. They're physical downhill. I mean, it's typical AFC North ball squad. I mean, it's a black and blue team on special teams. So we'll have our work cut out for us.
Coach, was the confidence in Cairo's ability to make that kick on 4th and 15, did that factor into the decision to go for it? And if so, what is the communication like between you and Matt when you're deciding whether or not to go for it on 4th down?
Our communication is great, and I think Coach has already answered that question. So I'm.
About Cairo? Did it have anything to do with his ability to make that kick?
Cairo can make kicks.
Chris, I know you want to be aggressive, and I know Khalil's your guy, but first play of the game, first play of his NFL career, it's his decision. You're not on a headset. He's coming out from 7.5 yards deep. What was your first reaction?
This will be exciting. So, you know, I think, and I will say this. I will always preach that we're going to be aggressive, but we don't want to be reckless. And I think you guys have known me, and I know that, I think because Larry asked me last week about 84, and we brought everything out because of 84. But, you know, I still, a lot of same guys are blocking, and I have confidence in those guys. And, you know, at times maybe we do have to be a little bit more choosier. But at the same time, if we feel like there's an opportunity, let's go. I still live by the philosophy you have 0% chance of scoring if you take a knee. You do give yourself a chance. And at the end of the day, if they stop us, we better make sure we get the ball at least to the 25.
Did you think he was gone at any point? Did you think he was gone? Is it, not to the...
I saw some angles. I thought it was going to be just what it was. I thought it was going to be a big return, get the momentum going, and then obviously we got going there offensively also. So that was good. I thought that was good complementary football right there.
You ever have a kicker not be ready to kick a field goal like in Oakland? What'd you think of that? Oakland.
Vegas?
Vegas, yeah.
I didn't see it, to be honest with you, but I thought you were referenced when their kicker, the Rams, on the first, I think it might have been the first extra point, he wasn't out there.
Oh, okay.
And I was looking around. I was waiting for a Johnny Heckert throw or something, and I was scanning everywhere. It was, and then I could see on their sidelines they were scrambling for their kicker. So I'm going to try to avoid that.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
What Joe D said.
Middle part. Middle. We'll figure out. You guys were able to move the ball pretty well. I think went over the 50-yard line the first 7 possessions. What's the key to finishing and putting the ball in the end zone more than twice?
I think the key is just our execution down there. I think a couple of times we shot ourselves in the foot, and we really can't have that in the red zone, you know, or especially when we're in their territory. So just being able to execute, run the play that's called, and run it. You know, we were able to. It seemed the whole game we were, like you said, kind of in that 50-yard, getting in that area. So just finishing, and you know, we had situations there we had to kind of go for it, but you know, we know that there's a lot more in there, but it's an encouraging start the way we were able to move it versus a really good defense, a really sound defense that's been really good for a long time. So just keep working at that, but definitely some things to build on, you know, and really hit it hard, but, you know, be critical at the same time, but also know that we did do some good things that can really bolster us going forward, because it is a long season.
How impressive was, especially after watching it on tape, David Montgomery's performance?
Oh, you know, he's picked up right where he left off last year. I think at a certain point he really figured out what we were doing, and we all kind of clicked at the same time, it seemed like. So to be able to come back this year and build on that and follow it up with that performance, I think he only had probably 15, 16 carries. So It's impressive. It's just a testament to what he was doing in the offseason and getting himself ready to be that guy for us, be that back for us again.
Talk about that clicking with him. The timing kind of coincides with when you went back to right tackle last year. I mean, what kind of difference do you think that had on it clicking?
Yeah, it's a position I've played a lot, and I'm comfortable there, and I think I've done a lot of good things in the league there. So for me to be any type of asset to the team there, I'm excited about it, and I think everybody kind of found what they were really their role last year. Alex stepping in at guard, and then James this year getting back, and Cody going back to left, and Sam kind of stepping in there and becoming our leader and the guy that tells us where to go. I think it just all worked together and it came together, and sometimes you just figure it out, and I think it's just going to continue to pay dividends for us going forward, because it's just going to keep getting smoother, and we're going to keep being able to know what works for us. And I think a lot of things did work for us in week one, and we'll keep finding new things, but it's encouraging the things that did work and that we're able to move it, even though we wish we would have finished it a little better on some drives.
I mean, I know as an offensive lineman, you guys like to run block. Doesn't matter if it's 8, 9 in the box, you guys want to run block. But realistically, when you see 5 and 6 man boxes, there's probably that always wants to run against that, even if there's been a pass call. Okay, how do we get to a run play when there's a 5 and 6 man box in front of us?
Yeah, it's interesting. I do hear that a lot. I hear that linemen love to run block. And we do, but we also just like to do our job. They call a pass, you execute the pass, and you feel good about it. They call a run, you execute the run, and you feel good about it. Running the ball kind of puts a little less pressure on you, I guess you could say, because pass protection is in a way dropping back passing is harder to account for, but you always want the challenge. So if they're calling the pass in the 5-man box, you block it up and you do it to the best of your ability. They call a run, you come off the ball and you do your thing. But we're always down for a challenge. I never think, I want to run here, I want to pass. I just want to block the assignment that I'm told to do, and when you do that, it's pretty satisfying.
Coach Laser said that Elijah did a good job at left tackle when he came in. It's obviously tough losing so many guys there, but having played with him in practice, how much faith do you have in Elijah to step in and stay there and do a good job?
Yeah, Elijah came in. He had a great offseason. He came up here and he was all in from the beginning. Working out with the guys, fit right in, and he just wanted to work and he just wanted to get better, and he just wanted to know what our system was all about. And I thought he had a great mini camp, and then came back and had a really good training camp, really strong training camp. And I think that paid off for him. He got a ton of reps with a few of our tackles being hurt in camp, including myself. So he just stepped in. He did what he's been doing all camp, just being reliable. And he's a guy that came here and he had some things that he wanted to prove. And he when his opportunity called, he was able to step in and really be steady for us. So he's just a guy. He's reliable. He's a veteran guy, and he's games like that. You can grow so much from him because you just go out there and you're not thinking about all that. You're just playing, and that's what he did. And super excited about what we're able to do, because that just means we have so much more depth.
Jermaine, does the presence of an Aaron Donald cause you to adjust the way you would block any other team's 30 or 40 fronts?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because we have so much belief in our guys on the inside and outside. I know James and Cody were able to keep him under wraps for the most part. He's a hell of a player, though. Probably the best defensive lineman, if not in a modern since I've been watching football, but probably in history. So, he's someone to account for. But when you're confident in your technique and the technique we've been working, you just have to go out there and do your technique. He's always going to be a challenge, but you don't change what you're doing. You just you have to be sharp. You can't have a day of where your technique lets you down, because he'll exploit those things.
Unrelated to that, have you ever had a situation in a game where somebody's struggling with somebody and they've said to you, "Hey, help me out here for a minute. Let's double him, or let's give me a hand here"?
Well, everybody's got to do their job. So, I can't, I technically can't take away from my job to help somebody else unless that's built into the protection or built into the scheme. But you know, usually if it come, you'd hate for it to come to that in any situation. But if it does, you know, we have a great coaching staff that they'll be able to make those adjustments. You hope it doesn't get to that. You know, you hope it doesn't get to that, and I don't think that's something that we've had to worry about around here.
Jermaine, Cincinnati's defense swallowed up Kirk a couple times this past weekend. What do you guys, you know, what have you studied on tape as it comes to this defense and the pass rush, and just kind of what stands out?
You know, they're a really sound defense. They went out this offseason. They signed some players that they thought could really help them, and I think those players are, you know, those guys have been contributors in the past, and they'll be contributors on this defense. And but you know, it's another one of those schemes where if we're doing our things and we're executing and we're clicking, I think we can have some success. You know, we just can't shoot ourselves in the foot. You know, we can't beat ourselves, but I think if we're executing the play call and doing what we're coached to do in practice all week, I think we can have success, and that's, you know, that goes for any defense. But they're a solid front. They have some good defensive linemen on the ends and on the inside. Some guys that have done nothing but get better, like Trey Hendrickson and Sam Herbert on the outside. Those guys, they play hard and they're good at what they do. So, you know, it's another week of challenges. Every defense and every defensive line has standout players that you have to account for, and you have to minimize them or they can cause issues.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Jermaine.